So Shannon, what let's do real quick is let's actually open up the chat line for a minute and ask people if they have any specific questions. That was basically just a lunch comment, and we wanted to kind of cover it to kind of get back into the swing of things. And if you do have questions, and if you happen to be remotely in, why don't you ask a question, and we'll see if we can service you up. While we're waiting for that, here's another thing that's kind of interesting, Cheryl, is if you click on your history and reports, basically takes you to the history homepage, and it'll kind of pop in here and tell you some of the different things that you're doing. Now, it's kind of interesting. We have a bunch of little PO stuff as far as what's going on, and main POs and received POs, and you'll notice that there's even a little difference right here. Okay? So one of the POs that we have out that we did today is technically not received, and so that's why there's a slight difference between those numbers. I can go look at groups and items and like tons and tons of different ways to look at your data. As soon as it hits the system, you literally have to think it's stuck into a little container, and we're able to go map back to those little containers. Okay? So I'm just going to say, hey, show me what we've done today, just for fun. Kind of just pops down through the different things, and it even says, hey, here's a request quantity and here's a live quantity, and you can kind of scroll through there and be like, ah, cool, cool. You know, like it just kind of tells you roughly like what's going on.
Sandy has a question.
Sure.
Can you go to scans and photos to explain how we scan in invoices and pictures of products?
Sure, absolutely. I actually have a little scanner here with me right now, and it's nothing that's super fancy, and it's old as a dinosaur, but that's a great question. So this is a question right here for scans and photos. And this button right here, if you click on it, technically, at least right now, goes to the same place as the history homepage, but technically you are able to add some pieces. I'm going to pull out my marker and show you what you can do for scans and photos really quick. So for scans and photos, the things that can technically hold photos right now: expense receipts, POs, stock units, inventory items, invoices, and customers. Okay, I believe that that's it right now. There's some more pieces coming, but those are the places where you can actually document and hold and store photos. So we are going to go ahead and do that, and we will walk through just how to do that process. So was this for invoices, or was this actually for an item?
To scan in invoices and pictures of products.
Okay, great. Let's start with pictures of products, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to go to the product. So I'm going to just click on my flex grid here, and let's say that we're actually going to do hot tamales, okay? So I'm just going to kind of put in a part of the word so that I can get to the actual item. Here's hot tamales, and I'm going to go to the customer or full view. And this is just basically what it does is it's just a slightly different view of this particular item. Hot tamales, candy, sorry, no photos available, okay? I do have to have the permission that actually adds this little link called Add Edit Photos, okay? I don't have hot tamales right this second, but let me show you how we're going to go get one, okay? So basically, I'm coming up to get a new window. I'm going to leave Adilas for a microsecond. We're going to go to Google, and we're going to get some hot tamales. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just go here, and I'm going to go. I hit my caps lock, sorry. So I'm going to go right to images. Perfect. Which one looks good? How about that one? Is that okay? So basically what we want to do is we're going to I'm going to click on it so we go to it. It's just a small little piece, and I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to say save picture as. It's going to determine like where it thinks it wants me to drop it, and I'm going to say for right now that's fine. I'm just going to kind of call it. So this is an interesting thing. This is actually called a PNG file. Technically, Adilas only allows things called JPEG images. Do you want me to grab this PNG and convert it, or do you want me to get a JPEG image? I imagine probably a JPEG image. It would be easier. Okay, I'm going to go like this. Sorry, just kidding. I'm going to back up, and we're going to actually see if we can find one that has as a JPEG. Aha, JPG, okay? So perfect. I'm going to click on this guy. It's going to come in, and now that it's a JPEG, I'll do the same thing. I right-click, save picture as. My mouse isn't tracking. There it is. Depending on where you're going to drop it, depends on what's going on. I'm just going to create a quick little folder, and we'll call this one Hot Tamales. So as soon as I'm done there, I can technically leave Google, come back to Adilas, and now I can say this, Add Edit Photos. I can click Browse. It happened to remember that that's the folder, but if not, I would basically find my structure, get to the folder, click it, say Open, any sort of captions that I wanted, and then I could say Add Photo. So basically what this does is it will take that image and it will push it all the way up. This shows me a little image or a preview of it, and if I hit View Gallery, it'll actually take me right to the Hot Tamales. So anywhere I'm at now, if I wanted to actually go to Hot Tamales, so anywhere, say I'm anywhere and I go like this, I now see that I have images under Hot Tamales. I can click directly here, or I can come over here and browse it. It now says, hey, cool, you have it. And if I click on it again, it'll even go bigger. Okay, so it automatically sizes those type of a deal. That's pretty easy. Why don't we go and grab a Snickers real quick just so we can load in another one, okay? I'm going to go back to Google. I'm just going to hit my back button a couple times. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit here, and I'm going to change it to Snickers. Snickers bar. Okay, perfect, perfect, that's great. Let's see if it's actually a JPEG image. I'm going to right click on it. We're going to say Save Picture As. It's currently a JPEG images. I'm going to just quick save it. I'm still going to drop it in that same folder. Drop it. I'm going to come back. I now have to find the product. I just switched from Google to Adilas, and I'm going to come in here. See what I have under this. So check this out. If I click right here, I can go right to the photo gallery of it, okay? It's kind of like click. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? But it already knows that I'm under Snickers, okay? So then I hit Browse, then I select my product. If you don't like going click and then click, you can technically also just do a double click here, and it does the same thing as clicking and then saying Open. You add the photo, whoop, it now has this. So watch this. If I do products, and I'm going to just go to the home page just for fun, and I'm going to say Show Hide Search Criteria. Let's put everything that we have here, and I'm going to get all of those. Let's see which ones we have items on. Oh, Hot Tamales, Snickers. Like, we're already starting, it automatically starts cascading itself through the thing, and you can now say, oh, wow, cool, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's one way to easily do it. So, Sandy, what you could do is you could technically go to your distributors or the companies that sell those products, and you can just basically go right-click and, and grab some of those pieces. If you don't want to do it, another really handy way to do it is actually get a high school kid, okay? Pay a minimum wage and say, hey, I need you to load pictures for this. And some of them are smart. They're super sharp, and you can save a bunch of money rather than you doing it. You virtually say, okay, Johnny, here you go. Here you go. But it could be that easy. And then the cool piece is once you have it, you have it. Like, they do have to be JPEG images. I'm going to show you one other thing that's really important for scans. If you go to any Add Edit Photos page, there's a little link right here that says Basic Photo Info. This has a little graphic on it. And basically what it does is it kind of tells you some of the differences between scanning and setting and doing stuff like this. So really quick, just as a walkthrough, computers use light. And you can see that in order to produce a sphere, they use light and cubes. A printer uses dots and layers in order to kind of create the same thing. There's a difference in color as well. And without getting super technical, because this one uses light and this one uses layers or dots, they're different color models. And so sometimes you'll get a different color if you're printing versus on screen. Okay? Most of what we do deals with on-screen settings. If you're scanning, this is important, your scanner setting, 100 DPI. The word DPI stands for dots per inch, okay? Your camera settings, a lot of your camera settings are in megapixels, okay? Mega means bunches, millions, tons, okay? So sometimes if you shoot something, you're like, hey, I've got a 10 megapixel camera or whatever. When you shoot that picture, say of a box of hot tamales, you just took a picture that is the size of a billboard, okay? Now, we don't want you to throw that up at us because basically we have to grab it and crunch it and do all this kind of stuff. So what you do is you do your smallest settings. Any digital camera, go to your smallest settings and you will be fine for Atlas. If you're in the major megapixels, you're literally like you're putting up a billboard. And so what it does is, one, it makes Atlas struggle because it's like, ugh. And two, guess how long you're sitting waiting for it? Forever, okay? So we don't want to do that. These are basically your settings. 72 to 100 DPI, your JPEG quality. A lot of the new digital cameras, their quality is set at 99. Like you're talking high def, high everything. Well, guess what? Once you get it on a computer screen, the human eye on a computer screen, in order to get the match, most things are actually at this 72 DPI, which is little dots per inch, that it's doing these little cubes. That's all your human eye can pick up. But if you have it set at a super high thing, it blows it out of the water. Anyway, this is just a small little thing that talks about it. It does go on and kind of talk all about like some of the different things about like megapixels and what that means and such. Okay, so we're going to scan something now, okay? Cheryl, looked like you had a question.
No, I was just...
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to switch from a photo to a scan, okay? And she actually asked about, like, say, for an invoice or for something like that, okay? Invoices is one of the pieces that you can technically put some pieces on. So here's one that's to Mikkel Moore for $500. And if we go take a look at this one, basically this was for an element of time, a rental for a Ford for a 30-day rental for $500. I probably do want some documentation on this one, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm currently in the edit name. If I'm in the edit line items, there's a link directly, or I can click here, and then I can basically kind of come down really quick here and say I'm just looking and scanning. What I'm doing is I'm looking right here. Printable, save. Okay, add edit photos. It took me a second to find it. I couldn't remember where it was at. If I click add edit photos, it takes me to the same interface, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scan something right now. And just a minute. This is totally random. It's just a piece of paper. You set it in your scanner, and then basically what we're going to do is, this is how I like to scan. This is in Windows XP. There is some different things in Windows, like Windows 7 and such, but I'm going to say show the desktop. I'm going to come in here to a little scanner wizard that I have. It's basically connected to my machine. It's going out to try to see if it can connect. It says, hey, I found that you have an HP, kind of an older dinosaur. Now, if I just do colored picture, the default is at 200 DPI. I don't want that, so I actually have a one set in here already. If you wanted to see my custom settings, it's at 100 DPI. Okay, I say custom, next. So basically at this point it says, hey, where do you want to add this to? And I have a folder on my desktop that's already set up called Adilas Scans, and I'm just going to say next. So it gives it the next number automatically. So this is going to be number 19 that I'm scanning across. Once again, I can leave this little scan interface now and go back to Atlas. And so I'm listening for my scanner, and most of the new scanners are fast. This one here is literally 7 years old, and so like it's a dinosaur. It's kind of like, but it does the job, and I probably spent more on ink on this little printer than I ever have for the actual printer. I should probably just upgrade. So I'm listening for that key sound, and I just heard the return on my scanner, and so it's like, okay, cool, let's do it. So if I click Browse, I'm currently in my Candy folder. The one that I wanted was on my desktop, and it was under Adilas Scans, and it was the very last one, number 19. If you can't tell, you could always switch your things to different modes if you wanted to actually see some thumbnails of the different pieces. So these are some of the different scans that I already have in. Here's the one that I just did, number 19. I can click Open and add that photo to this invoice. It virtually just added this little piece, and this was just a random document, but basically it comes back and tells me original size, compression sizes. It says, hey, would you like to view the gallery? If you click that, it now has the same option that we had before. So basically, meet the players, general system settings, logins. I now have a piece of the puzzle.
That's what you scanned.
That's what I scanned.
Okay.
If I had scanned some other, and not to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm just going to go grab some that I've already scanned, okay?
Okay.
Just,
Oh, I thought you'd scanned the thing for Mikkel for the car.
okay, correct. If you look at this, it's actually attached to Mikkel on an invoice 102. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to go to the invoice homepage, and I'm going to scroll down, and all of a sudden, I no longer have the no icon. I have some sort of product piece there. Does that make sense?
So if I wanted to scan that one for Mikkel, would I have had to print it and then put it in the scanner?
Okay. What's another option is if you have a thing called Adobe Acrobat. Okay, and what we do right now is inside of Atlas we allow a JPEG upload, and what that allows us to do inside of Atlas, and this is kind of a techie thing, but basically if we get an image, I can technically manipulate your image so that I can control sizes. Thumbnail, small and big. Okay. If you upload a Word document, a PDF, a this or this, it's beyond my capacity to actually take and consume that and then do some stuff. It's coming. It's coming. We're actually planning on doing a thing called a content server where we're going to open it up so you can have multiple different things. But it has to be in that JPEG format. So if I have Adobe Acrobat, which is a great product that's made by Adobe, I could technically have a PDF and I can convert it, and I can do this, or I could scan right to JPEG, depending on how things happen. Because it's JPEG, you may have to be printing, or have Adobe Acrobat where you can convert directly.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You want to see me convert one directly using Adobe?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So
So,
because I'd rather not print it and then have to put the paper copy there. If it's on a computer, I'd rather just be able to get it.
correct, and that's a great thing. And once again, the reason we haven't gone that way is dealing with a tech issue. And I hate to say it, but I'm the bottleneck there. So basically, we can deal with JPEG images. Let's go to Mikkel's invoice right here, and I'm going to say printable, okay? And I'm going to say, let's save this as a PDF. I'm never even going to print anything, okay? I'm going to say save as a PDF, and it's going to generate this whole invoice. We'll just kind of take a look at it. Not a big deal. Looks like it went down to 2 pages. I'm going to show you a quick little thing. Like, that's so teeny. I don't want it to do that. And depending on how many pieces I have, it will expand that. If I click up here, at the very end of this thing, there's a little thing that says scale. Scale equals 95%. Watch this. If I just change this to 90, and then I hit enter, it'll redo that page, and it'll come back, oh, still just barely off. Okay, I'm just going to tweak it just a little bit more. But anyway, you can virtually kind of come in here and just kind of be like, if you had to and you wanted to literally force it to 1 page. So now it's 1 page, 1 of 1. It didn't do a whole lot. It basically is still there, no problem. Just kind of, that was a hack. That wasn't necessarily part of this demo. I just wanted to show you that you can tweak it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to, that's fine. We'll save it right to my Adilas scans, and I'm going to actually call it Mikkel. As soon as I hit save, basically it writes this PDF document to my computer. Okay, I then would come and I'd have to have some sort of a program called Adobe Acrobat. And this is a separate product. This is not part of Adilas. Once it comes up, I basically say this. I say File, Open, and now I browse to where my piece is. I go find the Mikkel invoice, okay, however you want to get to your piece, you open it. Basically, here's the actual physical PDF, okay? I could send this to her, I could do whatever. If I wanted to convert it, I basically can go here, File, Export, Image, JPEG, okay? So what basically happens is, hey, what do you want to call this thing, okay? And I'll say, that's fine, it's going to send it to a JPEG, say save, it'll run a little, okay? It's now a JPEG. Now watch this. I'm going to leave Adobe and I'm going to come back to Adilas. And I'm going to just jump back so I'm in the correct spot for the invoice. More options, and I remember where it was at now, Edit Photos. Here's the first one that I put in, okay? That was the quick one I scanned. The one that I just converted, I basically now will grab that Mikkel invoice.jpg. It's got to be the JPEG. Open it, add it. Choop, choop. I never printed, I never did anything, but I converted the whole thing. Now my gallery has two pieces of the puzzle, okay? One that was just a random scan, a piece of paper that I had here, but ideally it would pertain to that invoice, okay? Like a signed copy of this, or if she's going to rent a car, I want to scan her driver's license or whatever it might be, okay? So, and then here's the actual physical little invoice that I just uploaded as part of the documentation. So currently right now, and hopefully this will answer your question, Sandy, but for photos and scans, basically what ends up happening is that you can get to them very, very quickly, but you basically have to use JPEG images right now until we expand it out to the full content server. So Shannon, can you ask her if that answers her question? And we actually did a couple things. We went and grabbed some off of Google, and we did some candy ones. We scanned one, and then we physically converted one.
She said she thinks that answers the question.
Okay, perfect.